everybody. I'll get into that first, he also is involved in church because these guys make up the two churches. But we want to get into your ways, what's happening here. So the show, and basically, that would be and there is a that happening around that course. More than that, the Chicago Blaze North Slight North is going to be such a lot of room there. And reserve ticket also check party. Joined by Matt. What's happening? Chicago Blaze. It's production. Just generally, why this one is first of all, Matt, you served this president on this occasion. Spread some major transitions in
We had a D1 team. I actually took notes here. 2011 and 2012. So hopefully with this upcoming announcement, we should be staying up there for a little longer this time. Hopefully permanent.
Yeah, and those are all, I think, important elements to understand the history and the background. And of course, we have the new facility that was built. What year did you say that was?
2016 we opened.
2016. $1 million facility. We've added on fields at this point, so there are now 4 full fields. There are 2 lighted pitches. Just today, the sevens team was getting their training session in on the 4th pitch. So it's been real good as far as the facilities go, right? And we have to recognize a couple people, and I think it's important for us to recognize those individuals at this point that have done so much to advance this club and get it to where it is now. They're the founders, if you will. We could just talk about some of those people, and one in particular I think is near and dear to our heart.
Yeah, so this whole facility was actually the dream of Pete Thornley, who was one of the founders of the club, where he wanted a facility like he had back in England. So he's the largest shareholder of everything, and unfortunately, he just passed within the last 2 weeks. But we also have Walt Rebenson, Walt and Roanne. Walt was, I know, a wing on the '89 Division I team that went to the Final Four. In the audience, you also have Al Clem. And I should have kept my glasses on to see some of the others, but this place really has a core group of original Blaze people. We call them the building core, that kind of keep up everything facility-wise, while Matt and I kind of try to do the same with the team.
So for those that don't know, there are actually shareholders in the building core, right? Just Matt, if you would just share with, again, those that don't know anything about the Blaze or understand how we work, just talk a little bit about that housing core, how the shares work, et cetera.
Yeah, so we have a split organization, just for the sake of, we have the building corporation that manages the facilities, manages the fields, and that is a shareholder held corporation. And so obviously a good portion of the shares are held by old boys and former players, but it's actually it's a pretty standard share. You get a certificate on your wall, right, to go with the shares that you purchase of the club. And that comes with access to the shareholders meeting and access to the board of the building corp. And then the club runs in parallel so that we can have focus on our own specific kind of territories within.
And my kids always tease me. I have one share, and I mow that blade of grass every chance I get. But let's talk a little bit more about why we're here tonight. And a big part of that is the Chicago Blaze Rugby Club, more specifically the board. And Buddha spoke to it when the announcement was made just to the club members here just a little while ago. The goal was to move up to Division I. Buddha, can you just talk a little bit about why that was a goal and what the motivation for doing that was?
Well, the motivation was we were able to do it back in 2010, and due to circumstances and retirements, we weren't able to stay there very long. So as we got back with the club, that had always been a driving thing. And certainly for any athlete, to play at the top level that you can is what you strive for. And with the facility like this, a little bit more than just social, I guess. So competitive rugby, we should be a Division I team, and we're very happy that we were invited back.
And just for context, we've been a D2 team for quite some time, and we've had a D4 level as well, so both competing kind of separately.
Yeah, we've had two sides since about 2016. We brought back our second side, and that was our D2 and D4. That D4 side fairly quickly found themselves into winning a Midwest championship at the D4 level.
I'm pretty sure that was the 2019 national championship, man.
Which led to the D4 side getting promoted up to D3. And so since then, we've been operating a D2, D3 combination squad. D2 obviously getting a couple Midwest championships since then. And D3 always being a factor near the top of the table. With a really stout D3 competition in Carfu. That is actually a little bit of a path on the D3 side coming into this fall as well, due to some promotions out of the top of that table.
So now let's talk about the next step, right? Once the board realized that vision and one of their goals of moving up to D1 and moving that D4 side to D3 and hosting two very competitive sides. At what point did the board decide, we really need to start to look towards stepping up the coaching game and what coaches we have to move this club into both of those levels?
I got this one. It's certainly been something we have been looking for, interviewing for, putting out ads anywhere we can think of to get a experienced full-time head coach for the club, and things just haven't worked out in acquiring that person on the budgets we have. So we have had players step up, and we've had a real successful run with players winning a couple of Division II championships. But we just knew that couldn't continue. We kind of drunk from that well as much as we could, and it was time to make a big step.
Yeah, unfortunately, our head coach for the last couple of years has been one of our starting players for the D2 side that has run into a string of injuries that have left him on the sideline in the fall anyway. So he's stepped up and has been head coaching us while having another group of players as assistant coaches dedicated to the backs and the forwards. But that's not a sustainable model for a D1 club. And especially with a D3 side that has an opportunity to compete highly as well, we had to make sure that we got the coaching staff right on this promotion.
And that was ultimately the big announcement today that was teased out there earlier this week, was that tonight we announced to the players, the longtime members, alumni of the Chicago Blaze Rugby Club, called the Fossils, who that individual was going to be. And so we're going to bring that individual to the stage, if you will. We're going to have a conversation a bit about how that conversation went, how it carried forward, about the process that the board used, more specifically that coaching selection group decided on who that coach was going to be and what they saw in that individual that they felt made it a good fit for the club and somebody that can lead this club to the next level. So I'm going to ask at this point for Buddha to go bring on the new head coach so that anybody who's not here in the clubhouse at the Chicago Blaze Rugby Club could get to meet our new head coach. We're excited about this.
Very excited.
And I don't, we'll get into it, but it sounds like it was something that there was a real clear vision for what you guys were looking for when you selected an individual.
Yeah, we began the search already. So at the Midwest Winter AGM is when we found out that we were going to be coming into the D1 side and that we were going to be getting promoted. And so we started in earnest that search at that point, which led us to bring in a couple of coaches for trials this spring, while also reaching out to the Hounds to see if they had any players with some coaching experience that might be interested in stepping up to a head coach role and kind of ushering us into D1.
There you go. And so without further ado or further delay, Buddha, why don't you go ahead and make the announcement, given that you're the El Presidente.
Very happy to announce Luke White as our Division I head coach.
Thanks, Buddha. Thanks, fellas.
Welcome. So, congratulations, Luke.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Very happy to be here.
Yeah, well, there's a clubhouse full of guys here that are happy that you're here. It's a huge, important, big step for this club to take it up a notch. And I know a lot of people that are watching probably know Luke and his background, his history, his CV, if you will. I think it's important that we recognize what we're talking about. Again, when we look at coaching, we're talking about somebody with an amazing CV. Obviously, you've been involved in the MLR as a player since its inception in 2018, so we're going on 8 seasons. I think it's important to note USA Eagle number 561 debuted against Romania in 2023 in Bucharest, if I'm not mistaken. And of course, current player for the Chicago Hounds, played for the Raptors, was in an MR final with the Raptors, and finally won in 2021 with the Deltinis. And he's looking to repeat that here at the Chicago Hounds as we draw close to the 2025 season. So we'll get into your CV, your background, your interest in coaching here in a moment. But what I'm interested in is just hearing from both of you guys about how Luke came to the Chicago Blaze Rugby Club. Like what it is that you guys saw in him. Luke, what did you see in this team, this club?
Yeah, so I think, as we were going through the search and we interviewed a number of candidates, we're kind of looking for somebody who was looking to build a program, right? We didn't want somebody who would be, around for a year or two. We were looking for somebody with some roots in the area, somebody who had some experience coaching before, and honestly, a bit of name recognition. There's a recruiting side to the D1 move that we needed to make sure we had some name recognition. And as we talked through a few candidates, and when Kieran and I had a chance to speak with Luke, the conversation was just, it flowed, right? It was an hour's time. We were at an hour before any of us even looked at a clock or had a awkward silence.
The Zoom was about to end. It was kicking us off.
The Google Meet ran out of time before we were even, had a pause. So, conversation flowed naturally. We heard a lot of things around like his style of coaching and how, trying to, incorporate a family's, aspect. And then what we were looking for, I think met what Luke was looking for as well, of, looking for somebody who could oversee both of our sides, assemble a coaching staff that would, ensure that our D1 side was successful, but also that our D3 side was developing guys to join that D1 side down the road. And I think, it was just a perfect match at the end of the day.
So, let's, Luke, from your side, what did you see in the Chicago Blaze Rugby Club? And before we get into that, just real quick, I think it's important to recognize, Matt spoke to it, the fact that the Blaze wanted somebody that was committed to the area, that had roots here, that wasn't going to be a guy who came in and left, whether going to another club or, had to go back to wherever, whatever country they have their origin. They wanted somebody grounded. And what's interesting is, Luke, you've kind of made your home here in Chicagoland. You and your wife, Allison, your kids, they're here.
Yeah, it's home now.
Yeah,
it's home now. I may not sound like I'm from here, but I'm from here, and while my wife may not be from Chicago, she's from the Midwest.
Yeah,
she's from Ohio originally, and when I was playing for LA, and obviously that fell through, and we were looking for what's next, and when the Chicago Hounds popped up as an option, like it was a no-brainer straight away. So that's going on 2.5 years ago now, and so this is home now, and got a little 4-year-old who's as happy as anything, and another one on the way. So Chicago is my home now, and I'm about 20 minutes from the Blaze facility, so it just made complete sense. And you talking about what drew me to this club, quite a number of things. I'll preface it by saying that it wasn't an easy decision to come to the Blaze. Made pretty difficult by me coaching previously one of their biggest rivals in the Chicago Griffins and the CRC. So some may call me, say that I've jumped ship or, mutiny, but I had to do what was best for me and my family, and that was coming down here to the Blaze. So, and they've definitely I saw everything that they've got here, and I straight away saw a vision for what could come and what we could make it. From the field to the clubhouse, there's not many rugby clubs in America that have this. So it was a great foundation for me to come and build on and build my own program around. And I couldn't be happy to be here.
It's funny, you talk about this idea of jumping ship and those barbs being thrown at you. And it's funny is, when I was playing, and that was like eons ago, we were very territorial here in Chicago. But I thought that all had changed. I really did, because and And one reason is because of the Chicago Hounds, right? That everybody kind of sees that, hey, ideally we want clubs to be able to send guys up, to be able to work themselves. I mean, in an ideal world, to see guys work into that landscape and find their way into, professional rugby. And so as professionalism has come to Chicago, you would think that guys from wherever, the CRC Lions, name the team, would go, I'm happy for Luke. He's getting an opportunity to be a head coach, right? I'm happy to see whether it's coaching or a player, to see somebody move to a level they want to be at, right? And yet it's still.
I think that there'll be barbs thrown, and I mean, there's already jokes flying around, getting messages pinged to my phone. I've just let the boys know from the CRC that I'll be leaving, and the message has been flowing in. And whilst they're poking fun at me, they're also saying how happy they are for me, and it's all love, and I hope at one stage to be part of their rugby futures again. Maybe it's down here at the Blaze.
That's what we're counting on.
If you want to jump ship, guys, come on down.
Hey, you're welcome here. Top-notch facility. Of course, we're in the bar right now, but there's locker room, showers. It's a one-stop shop. With again, beautiful fields, beautiful setup. Everything's here, so
it's unbelievable. I've been to a lot of clubs in the US, and I've obviously seen a lot of clubs in Australia and other countries, and I mean, this is definitely on par with a lot of good rugby clubs that we have in Australia. So the Blaze are definitely going to be pretty proud of what they've put together, and I think we've got a lot more to come.
100%. So we're going to take another step here. First of all, I want to thank Matt and congratulate you on taking this step. It's as a guy who played. This is the only club I've ever played for, and like I've said, I've known Lukey for a number of years, not just with the podcast, but in my association with the Hounds. And I can't think of a better rugby person or human being to lead this club, the place that I call home. So I'm excited. Thanks, Matt, for making this happen.
I mean, this was an awesome journey, and the outcome is better than we could have hoped for, honestly. Luke has assembled a crack staff. Our D3 staff is going to be better than most teams' D1 staffs.
Yeah.
All teams.
All teams D1 staffs.
So with that, thanks, Matt. And we're going to allow Luke an opportunity to talk about his staff. Let's introduce one of your staff members who is here. So go ahead with that and then talk about
so my D1 assistant coach is this man right here stepping into frame, Mitchell Short, another fellow Australian and a brilliant rugby player and a great rugby mind. And so Mitch has come over from Australia this year to join the Hounds, and he's a scrum half, but he's also played all over the world. For my favourite team, the Waratahs, New South Wales Waratahs. So Mitch is a bit of an idol of mine, and now a teammate, and also been in France and played in France, and he's also learnt the game from a lot of different great rugby minds. And I know Mitch is very keen to step into coaching and get around the boys here at the Blaze. So it's really good to have Mitchy on board.
Well, let me ask this, Mitch, before you talk about and round out your staff a little bit. How did Luke sell you on this move?
I think it was pretty straightforward. You can't say no to a guy like Whitey. But no, honestly.
Just ask his wife.
Yeah. But no, he, just hearing about the Blaze coming up a division and just the role in itself for me was, it was actually pretty easy to choice. There's obviously ambition here, and I think it's just a really exciting project. I'm still fresh to the Chicago club scene in terms of different clubs, but just the fact that the team is coming up and they're hungry to actually give this a good shake. And I think Whitey, mentioned about the clubhouse here, obviously, and everything's set up here. And he's built for success. Like, I think there's so much potential here, just from Whitey, but hearing that sort of thing, and I just think it was a good way for me to also just sort of stay with the game and try and offer some different things that I've learned across my time in my career. And I think there's, obviously Whitey being a forward and myself being a back, I think there's a good mix there. So to be able to sort of do it with him and a good guy like that, I think at this club, which, has got history and wants to be better, I think was, something that attracted me.
I got to ask before we talk about the rest of the staff, Whitey, obviously from Australia, we've had conversations about this, but are you ready to be here for the entirety of the year or more in Chicago, given the weather?
I mean, I've heard a lot about the summer here, and it's yet to arrive. I know we've spoken about a little bit the weather, but I am, of course. That was probably when I came over with the Hounds. I wanted to, really lock in and immerse myself and stay here for as long as possible. So, this was again a way to do that with Whitey. It was just perfect timing, and I was looking to sort of hang around and to be able to still stay involved with the game. I think even at we're not playing, but the coach in this capacity, I think is a good thing for myself. Definitely ready.
Nice. Well, we're happy to have you, of course, on a personal note. We've had a lot of good conversations recently since you've been a part of the Hounds, and I'm thankful that we have somebody of your caliber working with the backs.
Yeah.
Because it's going to make a world of difference. So, Luke, talk about the rest of your staff and how they're going to figure into your organizational leadership here at the Chicago Blaze.
Yeah, so obviously Mitch and myself, I'll be doing the forwards with D1, and Mitch will be doing the backs, and also whilst overseeing all the aspects of the game for the club. But for the D3 side, we've got another USA Eagle, Otti Pifoletti, current Chicago Hound, loosehead prop, plenty of MLR caps, been playing since 2018, the start of the league. So Ots will head up the D3 team, and his assistant and backs coach, Adrian Karelsi, South African native, also with the Chicago Hounds. He's a talented fullback, fly half. Really, you can stick him anywhere in the back line and he'll get a job done for you. But I'm really stoked that the guys that I approached were really excited about joining the Blaze, and I'm just happy that I've been able to establish a really good coaching staff to kick things off here.
Luke, you weren't kidding when you were talking about having quite possibly one of the best staffs for men's, club rugby in the United States.
No, I wasn't. and I hope that that we can come in and we can do a job that we want to do and elevate this club to the next level. And I'm not going to beat around the bush. The other clubs here in Chicago and the other clubs in the Midwest, they're great clubs. They've got good rosters, some great coaches across the D1 scene. Our job is just to come in here now, implement some new things, tweak some old things, and get us moving in the right direction. And it'll just be really fun to see where we can go.
Well, and you weren't kidding. I mean, the Griffins and Lions, of course, have an amazing history here in Chicagoland and in the Chicago rugby landscape. The Griffins, I think it was 3 seasons ago, were hunting in the hunt for a national championship. We'll gloss over what happened there. And then, of course, the Lions won the Midwest this last season and made a run at the national championship. So, I mean, there is quite a history of really, really good men's club rugby, women's club rugby too, but we're focused on the men's side. Men's club rugby here in the Chicagoland area. So you guys have a tall task ahead of you. Are you up for it?
Absolutely. Good. Yeah, I just think it's in a nice spot here, to really give it a good shake. It's obviously fresh, but we'll give it everything. It's not just here to hang around. It's we're pretty serious and competitive blokes, I think, in our own right. So hopefully we can instill that here in the team as well.
100%. So let's dig into the meat and potatoes of this Coach's Corner talk. Obviously, Luke, you're going to kind of take the lead here, but we're gonna ask Mitch to join in and just talk about this, coaching marriage, if you will. So first of all, if each of you can just briefly speak to, two questions. The coaching background And why do you want to coach? What is your interest in coaching? What spurred you to inspired you to want to be a coach at some level?
Yeah. So coaching, it's not something that's new to me. I started coaching when I was probably, 15, 16 years old, at rugby clinics and camps, coaching junior kids. And then it just progressed from there, straight out of high school. I was a head coach in track and field as well, in the throws area, and shot put, discus, javelin. And then rugby as well, coaching high school teams. So I've already been coaching. I'm 33. I've been coaching since I was, properly coaching since I was 18. So, and I've always coached rugby over the years, whether it be at club level. Previously assistant coach at Harvard for a couple of years, and Glendale Raptors, coaching their Division 2 and Division 1 sides. Coaching's a passion of mine. I went to college for coaching, studying sports coaching and administration. It's always something, before I even became a professional athlete, I knew that I wanted to have a career in coaching, whether it was post-professional playing career or in the absence of a professional playing career. If I wasn't able to make it professionally, definitely coaching has always been a passion of mine, and I'm just excited to be able to do it, especially while I'm still playing. So when I do get to the end of my playing career, I've already got experience under my belt, and I'm ready to get stuck into it.
Let's flip that around and talk to Mitch. What spurred your interest in coaching, and what experience have you had that you bring to the table?
Similar to Whitey, I've always had an interest, I think, to sort of get into that space. Early on, similar, like I sort of started at that. Probably I was always doing sort of halfback coaching, very position specific. And then as I got through, I sort of went into sort of the school area a little bit and did a bit of school stuff for a couple of years there, where I had a bit more of a role as the sort of head coach for the, it was a bit younger age groups, sort of under 15s, 14s, 16s. So it's probably just a bit of a step up for me in terms of, working with men, which I think is probably a bit of a natural progression, which, when Whitey sort of mentioned it, I've always been, quite excited to sort of test myself in that space. And I the more I've played, I've probably felt I've got a lot to offer in terms of where I sit as a halfback. I think you learn quite a bit touching the ball the most, and sort of both sides of the ball, defensively and attack. I think you're in a really nice place to actually, offer your sort of expertise in those areas. And so for me, this was probably the perfect opportunity, in the sense I can sit back behind Whitey and sort of bounce ideas, and he can cop the flack as the head coach, but I can sort of sit there and obviously him being a forward, that's probably he'll listen to me, I think, at times, and I can just sort of add where I can, hopefully. And it's just probably, it's very similar. I just always had an interest, but this was just a nice fit and perfect timing, really, for myself.
So obviously, some on both sides, a deep passion for coaching, a desire to take your coaching experience to the next level. Let's talk about philosophy. A lot of the lads are interested. What's going to be that underlying philosophy for the Chicago Blaze team under the tutelage of Luke White and Mitchell Short?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a funny question, the old coaching philosophy one, and it's actually something that a lot of people will put their philosophy into a sentence or a paragraph of what their coaching philosophy is. I really don't like doing that. I think there's so many aspects to coaching, and it's such a broad role that obviously you can have focus areas, but I can't put my coaching philosophy into one sentence. I will say, though, that I'm a people's coach, and that means that before rugby players, we're people. So we obviously all have lives outside of rugby. And that's the most important thing. Rugby then comes after that. So families, work, wives, children, partners, whatever it may be, that obviously has to come first. rugby comes second to that. And I feel like if you have a happy group, a group that's confident, filled with positivity, you then put yourself in your best position to have players playing their best rugby. So I think why I got Mitch involved is because he's such a skill-specific coach. It will really complement me in terms of being a people's coach and motivating the players. I just think that those two styles will really work well together. And I'm someone that tries to drag the most out of players. I'm an effort and energy-based player. I'm not too concerned if obviously, you need to be working on your skills. But if you're putting in all your energy and effort into it to get to upskill and putting all your energy into effort when you need to be working, I'm going to be happy with you. I'll obviously give you a kick up the ass when you need it. But yeah, I'm definitely, as I've said, a people's coach, and I want my players to be happy, confident, positive. I want them wanting to come here to train. I want them to be excited about coming here to train. I want them to be excited to come here and play on a Saturday. Because as I said, happy and excited players will be the best players.
Well, it sounds like you could put it into one sentence. I mean, you're a people's coach.
That was about a 3-minute speech.
So I'm gonna ask Mitchell. So, who was one coach in your background that, whether it be inspired you, influenced you, shaped you, not just as a player, but as you start to think about who you might want to emulate or model yourself after as a player?
I think early on in my career, first Waratahs coach in Darryl Gibson was a good one. He obviously being
Gibson,
from
former All Black,
being from New Zealand, and I as a 9, he obviously was a back, but I enjoyed he was a really sharp rugby mind and brain. His understanding of the game, I think, he really was probably pretty eye-opening for myself at that young age. I was kind of like, wow, there's a lot more to this than just sort of, rocking up on game day and just because you've got the natural ability. And I think I probably enjoyed that. As a 9, being sort of obsessed with my own skills, I think that was just that knowledge side of the game, that detail part. I think I kind of took a shining to that a little bit. So yeah, he's a coach that probably sticks out just because I knew when he spoke, he was across everything in terms of, both sides of the ball. And you knew he obviously had been there and done that himself as a player. But the fact that he could then articulate it as well, I just enjoyed his way of going about it. To be honest, I really respected his rugby mind.
So, what kind of style can we expect from a Luke White coached rugby team here at the Chicago Blaze?
You'd probably think that we'd be a pretty Australian-themed team, play from anywhere, attack from your own line. Without giving too much away to our competition, no, we'll definitely be playing a very simple and direct type of rugby, confrontational.
Sorry, I almost spit out my ice cube because before you said that, I was going to say I got to imagine that a Luke White coach team will be very direct because that's how you play.
Yeah, it is, but I just think that I've got a progression style of coaching too, and once a team that I coach starts nailing the basics and the simple direct things, you then layer in, as you go. You layer in things that have become a little bit more complex, but in terms of systems, shapes, very simple and direct stuff that these young guys trying to learn the game of rugby can grasp and understand. And as you move through, you progress it, and it becomes more complex. But the overall way that we'll play will be simple, direct, get out of our own end, play in their end, score tries, kick goals, win games.
It's easy as that, eh?
Yeah.
It sounds easy.
Simple stuff.
Sounds
Simple
easy.
Stuff, yeah. So let's turn our attention a little bit more to, what's next, right? I mean, the announcements are great. The pageantry, if you will, of being announced and finally being able to talk about your role and your role as an assistant, Mitchell. But what's next for you guys? Like, talk us through what can we expect to see? What can players, alumni expect to see from the Chicago Blaze, from the staff, as we progress towards August and into the game schedule for the season?
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a bit that we need to get onto, and you know, we've already started all those processes. But I mean, just to rattle off a few: recruitment. Obviously, we've got a strong player base here at the Blaze already, but obviously we want to build and expand on that. Already got some great connections and some great players very interested in coming down here. Recruitment systems, playing systems, calling structures, getting players familiar with the way that we want to play. That'll be done, you know, dropping bits of information along the way, team meetings. Yeah, I mean, there's a whole range of stuff that we need to get done, and it'll take time. But we've got a good couple of months here leading into the first games. I think August 21 or around that date is going to be round one, and my plan is to have us absolutely firing by then. And I think that, you know, one of our first games could be against a close rival, so we'll definitely be working towards that over the preseason. And yeah, just building on different processes around the club, getting players used to all different sorts of practices in terms of recovering, you know, what they can do to further their game and their preparation. And yeah, we've got a lot to crack into.
So let's talk a little bit. You mentioned recruitment. We know that the Hounds obviously have contributed some academy players to both the Lions and the Griffins. Can we? I don't know if it's too bold, but can we expect something similar here at the Chicago Blaze?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, our aim is to tap into the Hounds. Obviously, you know, the connection between the coaching staff. Obviously, we all play for the Hounds, but it's only a beneficial relationship for both sides. You know, it's a place where we get coaching experience, but it's also a place where the Hounds can send players, academy players, and to get more playing game time. And that's what we need under these, you know, these young players need to be getting game time under their belts. And if they're maybe not getting it, you know, if they're a young player in a Hounds squad and they're not seeing game time, you know, this is where they come to get game time. So we can definitely expect some young Hounds academy players, and I wouldn't even rule out getting some couple of Hounds guys coming down here to apply their trade during the off season.
So I want to turn a question towards Mitchell, and I'm not saying forwards aren't skilled, okay? Yeah. But I was a forward, and I had a limited skill set. But you know, as a backs coach, obviously you want to see more skill, a rugby IQ at a certain level. Like, what are you looking for in obviously your skill positions 9, 10, 15?
Yeah, I think just, you know, as Whitey said, it's just sort of fundamentals. It's nothing too crazy in that sense. It's just, you know, the basics of your position first and foremost. It doesn't need to be the fancy, flary sort of trick shot, you know, sort of things. It's all about, you know, if you strip it right back, and even at the professional level, it's guys get selected on, you know, nailing their fundamental core roles. And I think that'll be no different here. You know, we want guys that are, you know, hungry to learn, obviously, but, you know, they're you know, worrying about sort of their role in the team and how they can best execute. And honestly, it's more so the fundamentals. I don't think it's nothing fancy.
100%. All right, we're going to start to draw this to a close, but I think an important question for both you guys, and I'd be interested in hearing, you know, both of your angles. And maybe you've had a conversation about this, the essence of this question. But obviously, the Chicago Blaze are stepping up from D2 and a very good D2 side to Division One, and that is a jump. So what's the real expectation, kind of threshold for success, the KPI, if you will, KPIs for 2025, 2026 for the Chicago Blaze Rugby Club?
Yeah, as you said, you know, it's no small beat to jump from D2 to D1. Obviously, you're going to have realistic expectations when you're starting out in a new division, a very tough division. Look, we all want to win games. Can the Blaze win games in their first season? Absolutely. Can they win all the games in the first season? Be a tough ask. Hopefully, what we can build is a team that can win the majority of their games. But I whether you put a 50% win ratio up as a goal for the first year, I'd say that sounds pretty good. I'm not going to go out there and stand in front of the club tonight, getting introduced to the club as the new head coach, and say, guys, we're making the national championship game and we're going to win a national championship in our first year in Division 1. It's just not realistic. Who knows, maybe we'll blow expectations out of the water, and we will just do just that. But let's set some realistic expectations, and let's try and knock off a couple of wins in our first year and build as we move along.
Oh, well said, I think. Can't argue with that. He's the
Whitey
boss.
said, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's spot on. But you don't want to, coming in, it's a step up, obviously, and we're realistic, but, it doesn't mean we're not hungry.
We're hungry.
Yeah.
I got to ask this, of course. Now, both you guys are, I haven't seen, and maybe you guys already know, the starting 15 for and the 23 for the Hounds match against the Nola Gold on Saturday night here at SeaKeek Stadium. If you're in Chicago and you haven't gotten tickets, get your tickets now. It should be an absolute cracker. I know both teams well. I'm excited to be on the sideline because I know both teams so
You better
well.
be wearing your bloody green, mate.
Well,
Not your bloody gold.
I have two pairs of underwear in my underwear drawer. One's a Hounds pair, one's an Old Gold pair. I'll be wearing one of them. That much I will tell you. But no, it should be an absolute cracker. But obviously, there's some really good rugby going on outside the main pitch on the tertiary pitches at the Chicago Blaze. Now, you guys will be prepping probably for the game your game on Saturday night. Will you guys be going out on Sunday to check out some of those games and maybe nick a few players from around the Midwest?
Might have to. I think so.
Yeah, definitely always eyes peeled and trying to get anyone that's interested in coming to play at a great club, 100%.
It should be awesome. We're looking forward to it. So first of all, before we check out, I want to thank everybody who's checked in with us live for joining us. I also want to briefly just touch upon, and make a shameless plug, if you will, for the rugby party. Again, Norm Smythe, a good friend of mine, good friend of the Chicago Blaze. Shout out to Designs Out of the Norm. Norm does some great artwork. You could probably get your club done in oil on canvas. Great stuff. But he's going to be hosting the rugby party at Reggie's Bar, 9 a.m. start. The rugby rant will be going live like this with Scott Farrar in the house at noon. We're hoping to get some guests that might be in the city to join us for a couple minutes. I don't know.
When is it?
It's the 2nd of November.
Oh, plenty of time.
Yeah, right.
Plenty of time. I'll clear the calendar, mate. I'll be there for you.
I mean, you'll probably be rooting for Ireland against the All Blacks, I got to imagine. But
Yeah,
I think so.
So you get on the ends, you go for the Kiwis, there?
I thought he said New Zealand.
Probably Ireland.
Ireland.
no?
No, Ireland.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I've always been a fan of watching the All Blacks. I've always been a fan of watching Ireland play, especially over the last 5 years. So I'll be cheering for rugby.
Yeah, rugby's the winner.
Rugby's the winner.
It'll be an absolute cracker. And neither of you guys were in the United States the last time,
Yeah.
the two played in 2016. So,
I wasn't, yeah.
I was
well,
in
you
the
were
States. I was here. Yeah.
But
It was in Chicago, wasn't it? Soldier Field.
Yeah, it was in Chicago. It was unbelievable. So at any rate, join us at Reggie's for the rugby party. Again, you can reserve a table for you and your group to sit, relax, watch some great stuff like the rugby ramp, but also some live music. There's going to be, I think, $40 gets you all you can eat and stuff to drink. but you can also reserve a table. So check out the rugby party on Facebook page. You can get your tickets and secure them straight away, so you are locked in to the game day festivities. And don't forget, there's a bus that will take you to the pitch and bring you back for the festivities afterwards. Again, it should be awesome. But I want to thank both you guys for joining us. Congratulate you guys on making the decision to come here and coach the Chicago Blaze. I can't wait to be here on the sidelines, rooting the lads on as you guys lead the boys into the 2025-2026 season. So congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the jacket, Rob. That's very special, mate. For those of you watching, this is Rob's jacket from when he was a Blaze player, and he very kindly gifted this to me tonight when they made the announcement. So I'm very grateful and appreciate it, and I'm very grateful to be here.
Well, I can't think of a person I'd rather see wear that jacket than Luke. That's for sure. So with that, folks, again, thanks for watching. Support our sponsors, Macron. Get your tickets to the rugby party and check us out. We're going to be coming with more content, some interviews, and we'll be back regularly scheduled rant next week. It should be quite a lot of fun because, of course, we're coming in the home stretch. 2 matches left. The Hounds are hoping to secure at least one home playoff match, maybe 2 if we can nip New England in the bud and get 2 wins and knock down 10 points along the way. We're looking forward to it. But we'll
So did